Hello, it's Peter Wright and Kathleen Beauvais with another weekly wrap up for things that have been going on the Yakking Show. And we are talking to you on the 1st of August about the week ending 2nd of August. Can you believe 2nd of August already? The year is
It's
flying
zooming
by.
by. Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, Kathleen, how are you today in this somewhat sweltering week we've been having, right?
Yes, it has been a sweltering week. I'm doing great. I'm on the mend. You can still, my voice is still a little scratchy, but I am on the mend, I'm glad to say.
Well, that's good. We were a bit worried about you earlier in the week. You certainly were a little bit under the weather, so glad to hear you're improving. So we're going to start off with Kathleen's health report, and she's got something to say about a certain type of cancer that's a bit of a problem, eh?
Well, you know what, Peter? I wanted to bring up something about pancreatic cancer today, um, which is considered the king of cancers, and it's linked to sugar. Well, you know what? Sugar is a link for many cancers, right?
Mhm.
But in Western medicine, the pancreas is recognized as both a digestive and an endocrine organ. As a digestive organ, it secretes various enzymes to break down proteins, fats, and carbohydrates in food. As an organ rather, it produces insulin and glycogen to regulate blood sugar levels, maintaining them at appropriate levels, crucial for the functioning of key organs. So there have been numerous studies that have confirmed the close relationship between sugar and pancreatic function, identifying sugar as a driving factor in the onset of pancreatic cancer.
Mm.
A study in 2019 published in a report called Cell Metabolism found that elevated blood sugar levels triggered metabolic imbalances in mice, leading to pancreatic cancer. In another study published also in Cell Reports in 2020, following nearly 500,000 Europeans over 20 years, indicated that a high sugar diet increased the risk of pancreatic cancer in some individuals and promoted tumor growth and
Mhm.
spread. So, so when tumors form and grow in the pancreas, they typically do not cause noticeable symptoms. Even if symptoms do appear, they say, they are rarely recognized as related to pancreatic issues, making early detection unlikely.
Mm.
So it's often when the tumor cells have metastasized to other organs that the symptoms become apparent.
Uh,
Approximately 80 to 85% of pancreatic cancer patients are diagnosed at advanced stages, where cure is no longer an option. So,
mm.
what are the early symptoms of pancreatic cancer? They include upper abdominal bloating and discomfort, itchy skin,
Mm.
unexplained sudden increase in blood sugar levels, or sudden um, ineffectiveness of diabetes medication, lower back pain,
Mm.
especially at the level of the navel, unrelated to kidney disease or injury. Also, yellowing of the eyes and skin, such as jaundice, right?
Mhm.
So, some of the risk factors for pancreatic cancer, and they say here, while the exact cause of any cancer is unknown, the following are risk factors that may influence pancreatic cancer development, and these include high stress, depression, and anxiety. It says here one study showed that depression may be a precursor to pancreatic cancer, with half of pancreatic cancer patients exhibiting psychiatric symptoms 43 months before physical symptoms appeared.
Wow.
Of course, an unhealthy unhealthy lifestyle, uncontrolled diet, and irregular sleep patterns, unbalanced diet, so eating an unvaried and unhealthy diet, such as eating too much meat or not enough fruits and vegetables, bad habits such as smoking, drinking alcohol, consuming excessive amounts of coffee, and frequently eating charred foods. Also, underlying health factors such as diabetes, pancreatitis, So
Mhm.
chronic inflammation of the pancreas can lead to cancer, and benign tumors may become malignant. And also genetics is also a factor as well. So in terms of preventative measures, they include reducing, of course, your sugar intake.
Mhm.
Hello. Eat a variety of vegetables and fruits. Increase your intake of healthy fats. So, and also engage in regular exercise.
Mm.
So all of these, of course, make perfect sense if you're going to prevent any cancers, really, right?
Sure. Sure. Does it affect men and women equally, or is it more
Oh,
common in one or the other?
well, that's a good question, Peter. This article doesn't actually specify that
Mm.
information, but that would be something
Yeah, it's
interesting
wondered.
to find out. Yeah.
And I guess why it's so feared and why it's called the king of cancers and why it has such a bad recovery rate is because, as you said, it's well advanced before any real symptoms appear, right?
That's right. Yeah.
But it would be a good case that someone who's chronically depressed should try and find out if their pancreas is working properly, because that might be why they're so depressed with no other physical symptoms. Okay, so yeah, one that to be really careful of. Wow. Now, I know that you've got something to talk about one of the Dr. Morse products, but something I picked up during the week is that certain parts of Canada are experiencing outbreaks of a third world disease called dysentery,
Yeah.
which has been largely eradicated in the Western world. And part of this, we believe, is due to we know the term happy campers, but in Canada we've got people called happy crappers that decide to use certain nature spots as their toilet or washroom, as you say in Canada. And that's one of the reasons we believe, as well as poor hygiene from certain groups of people, that the dysentery is spreading alarmingly in Canada. This is a real problem because, as I say, it was largely wiped out in the Western world, right? It's
Mhm.
very, very common in the third world where people don't have adequate toilet facilities, where there's no sewage, where they don't have clean drinking water. And
Mhm.
many
Mhm.
third world countries, I lived in Zimbabwe, Rhodesia, Zimbabwe, South Africa for most of my life. It was very rare. The outbreaks there were very rare, right? But in further north in Africa, they were more common, and certainly in parts of Asia, they're pretty where the population is much denser. They have a problem.
Mhm.
But for us to be experiencing that in North America is really bad news. And there's
Mhm.
all sorts of reasons and fingers pointed at the type of people who are spreading it. And I know that we'll get into trouble if we go down that road, but let's just say it pays to wash your fruit and vegetables and wash your hands before and after eating and before going to the washroom. Dysentery, I've heard of people who've had it. My late father lived in India for a few years, and it was very common there. And he said it's not a nice thing to have. And so, just something to watch out for. So, back to you to talk about your health product, Kathleen.
Well, I just wanted to give another plug today for Dr. Morse's GI broom capsules. And this one's almost empty.
Almost done.
Yes, almost done. So GI broom is a powerful herbal laxative and lymphatic puller. It functions to promote the removal of buildup in the intestinal wall using psyllium husk and Cascara sagrada, while also stimulating the flow of interstitial fluid from the gut lining into the lymphatic circulation and elimination with the help of chickweed, mullein, plantain, and aloe resin. It supports the body's natural cleansing and detoxification process. And really, I absolutely love this product. And if you're worried about any, buildup of sludge in your gut system, this is what you need. And for those of you who are fearful of becoming dependent on this in terms of a laxative, well, as Dr. Moore says, your body does not become dependent on this to go to the washroom going forward if you use this product. Not unlike a lot of the over-the-counter drugstore laxatives where, if you continually use them, your body does become dependent on them to
Dependent.
function. So, yeah.
Okay, there we go. Good. So let's talk about. I've got another quick health one. I don't think we mentioned it last week, and that was I was reading about the theory. I don't know how well proven it is that dementia and Alzheimer's have got a lot worse over the last 40 years, which is
Mhm.
exactly the period that the prescription of statins has become so widespread. And statins are are the most widely prescribed drug in the world. They, well, it's a correlation, not causation, but there's some parallels between the increased use of statins and the increased incidence of dementia and Alzheimer's. The theory being that statins depress or reduce your cholesterol, and you need cholesterol to have healthy myelin in the brain. So I'm not an expert on that particular, I'm not an expert on anything medical, but I found it very interesting that there is that really strong
Mm.
correlation between increased use of statins, increased incidence of dementia, and Alzheimer's. So that's something that's to be concerned about.
Right.
Let's move off the medical stuff and go on to what happened on the show this week. So
Yeah.
on Tuesday, we published an episode for her second appearance was Nancy Becker, right? Betcher, sorry.
Betcher.
Betcher, who's quite an amazing woman. She is partially disabled herself, and she works tirelessly to help women with autoimmune diseases or disabilities. And she talks about invisible disabilities, invisible illnesses, which is mainly autoimmune diseases, which prevent people, women leading a normal life, can't get regular employment. So she works really hard to find them work at home, small business opportunities. She puts on functions. So she was on Tuesday, and well worth listening to Nancy. She does a lot of good work. Next week, we have quite an amazing young guy, Andy Kozlowski, coming on, and he is a spiritual sage. Not only that, he's a really tough guy. He did a 12-day fast at one time, and then he did a mountain summit climb in the middle of winter wearing only a pair of shorts. And the mind boggles at that. Also, interesting guy, comes from Europe, but currently living in, I think he's Polish, but he's currently living in Thailand. So
Yes.
well traveled, and talks a lot of good sense about how to overcome adversity. The week after that will be Kelly Sparta. She's a coach and a spirit. She leads people in spiritual awakening. She's not a religious minister at all, but she was also enlightening and good. I found I thought she was going to be a bit woo-woo, but she wasn't. She was down to earth, and I listened to the whole thing. So another good one. And then the following week will be Vicky Paris Goodman, who talks about a different perspective on grief. She lost her husband a couple of years ago. She wrote a book about it. And she encourages us to see grief as an opportunity and not necessarily totally negative and depressing. So another good one. If you've recently lost a partner or a loved one, that's a good episode to listen to, watch or listen to, and see how she handled her grief. Kathleen, you got any comments on any of those?
All excellent, excellent guests. I was so impressed with the young man from Thailand. I mean, he is a special individual. You can't
Yeah,
help but listen to him and just he oozes wisdom, and he's so
yeah,
young. He's young, and
yeah.
yeah, he was a very
He was
interesting interview for sure.
he was good, and he's also written us an article on what he does, which will be published on our blog next week
Mm,
when we publish his
right.
episode.
Hmm.
That's who's coming up over the next few weeks. Then our featured book for the week is Nancy's book. She's got a book called Rebel with a Cause, not the James Dean movie Rebel Without a Cause, but a book called Rebel with a Cause. And it's a collection of stories from women who suffer from invisible illnesses and disabilities and overcome huge obstacles and hurdles to get on and create a business or get on with life. Some of them work for good causes, but they've all overcome their own particular adversity and really got on. So that book, it's not on Amazon, it's on Nancy's own website or the invisiblewarriors.org website. There'll be a link in the newsletter and in the description of the show for that. So I'd encourage you to support her organization. And while I've got it, we've got this interesting lineup of guests. So you don't miss out on future guests, onto our website, yakkingshow.com, and sign up for our weekly newsletter. It's only one email a week. We just keep you in the picture who's coming on. And of course, we are now publishing shorts virtually every day on YouTube and social media, little excerpts from the guests we've had on the show, So you can get a little snippet, and then there's a link there if you want to go and watch or listen to the complete episode. And that's it from me. So wishing everyone well. Thanks for watching, and we'll be back to talk to you next week. For now, back to you, Kathleen.
Yes, thank you so much for tuning in to our wrap-up video, and we will see you again next week. So until then, take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.